I'm going to talk about a subject which is not so easy. It's me, Lewis, again. Yes, here I am. And I'm going to talk about the concept of God versus science. Now, God versus science is a result of people believing that science and God are converse to each other. They are diametrically opposed. In other words, science seeks to disprove the existence of God, and religion seeks to prove that science is flawed and is somehow got nothing to do with God. Yet we live in a world where technology, I mean, a lot of you have Samsungs and Apple iPhones and all that, which is based on technology, which is based on science. And we live in buildings and go to hospitals, all these things that are based on science. And then we, on the other hand, people have faith and belief in God, whether it's in the form of Buddha, it's in the form of Allah, it's in the form of Jesus Christ, it's in the form of God, our Father, or it's in the form of whatever else people believe in. But I don't think that the two are diametrically opposed. My belief and my proposition to the world is that science and God are not separate entities. Merely speaking, in my opinion, there is the force of creation, which is known as God, known as Allah, which is everywhere. It is the source of all existence. It is what creates everything. And then on the other hand, we have science. Science, in my opinion, is merely the study of the principles and the rules and the guidelines of how God's universe works. If I drop a ball or a piece of paper or my watch, it will fall to the ground because of the existence of gravity. Gravity is not a force that invents itself. Man merely studied objects falling and asked himself, why do they fall? And in study and in thought, he concluded that there's something called gravity. He figured out the mathematical formulas that governed gravity, the same for light, the same for the atomic energy we use in nuclear reactors, the same for the pathways of electricity that give us television, the same for medicines, the same for the clothes and the fabrics that we wear. All these were based on understanding the principles of the world around us. We didn't invent the world around us. We found it here. We have impact upon it. We create buildings, create roads, we create societies, we create a world order. But we did not create the universe. The universe created us. We are the product of the universe, not the other way around. We merely have an expanding understanding of the universe as we become more intelligent, as we pass on the knowledge and it becomes to accumulate in the next generation of human beings. So we are merely seeing what we call science as the principles of God manifested in the real world around us. Faith deals with the existence of God on a non-observable, non-empirical space, but the universe around us is God's what can I call it, expression of existence. I did not create the Milky Way. I did not create the Andromeda Galaxy. It is a fascinating and incredibly beautiful construct. I mean, when you look at the world today, you see the planet is beautiful. The planet is astonishing. The myriad of life forms upon it are awe-inspiring. They are unbelievable at times. When you look at the jellyfish, to a seahorse, to a eagle, to a snake, to a lion, to a human being. The complexity and the beauty of the shapes and forms is unfathomable at times. These are not things we created. We found them here. They were created by a greater force than ourselves, a force that also created us. We are merely beginning to understand the principles of this universe that God created. And so I state that, or my philosophy or my belief is that science and God cannot be separate. For if you try to remove science from God, you are trying to separate God's work from God. You're trying to take away what He's created, the principles He's structured and brought to life by denying their existence. This is why when I see what I term fundamentalists or devout Christians, as some of them call themselves, as devout Muslims or devout whatever belief it is that is takes science away from the belief in God, I have to ask myself, how is that possible? For your very existence, the very breath in your lungs, the very sight your eyes see, the very sound your ears hear, is governed by principles created by the power which you worship. For you to deny those rules and that power, is it not to deny your own God? Is it not to deny the existence of a higher power? So I always find it difficult to have this discussion with people and churches because they believe there is a God and science somehow is some sort of a weird errant force that we know how to use, but somehow the two are unrelated. When in fact it's like something Einstein was trying to work on called the unified field theory. We try to see if gravity is related to electricity and electromagnetism, electromagnetic radiation. The theory has not been solved. It is a complex one. The relationship between gravity and electromagnetic energy is a complex one, and if figured out would create some astounding changes in human society. But no matter how astonishing and marvelous our technological advances are, they are based on taking advantage of and exploiting principles that we found here from the earliest days of our inception and our creation. And this is also why I'm a believer in the theory of evolution, because it is based on a principle set by a creative being, a creation power. We didn't create evolution, we found it here and we observed it and wrote it down. We didn't make it up. It is there. You can't deny it. God made evolution as a process that determines how organisms move forward. We didn't invent it, we found it here. And I think those are the kind of things we just need to be aware of. We need to stop being arrogant that we are somehow bigger than God. Somehow we transcend God because we came from the nature that God created. And in the same vein, I would say, when people say, there's no way aliens can exist, that I say, look upon the earth itself and look at its abundance. Upon this planet, there are aliens. There are species we have not discovered, and there are species we have discovered, whose complexity even puzzles us. On our own planet, so many species that we somehow are under the impression that if our planet in the cosmos is just one grain of sand in a vast desert like the Namib Desert, that somehow we'd be alone in the universe. It's not possible. God is a force of an abundance and a force of creation. He's not jealous in giving life. Therefore, if he can give life to a fish, to a mosquito that annoys you, why would God not give birth to multiple life forms across multiple planets, multiple solar systems, multiple galaxies? And that is why I think in hundreds of years, I probably will not be able to see it. The human race will come into contact with other species from other planets. They are not creations of another God. They are creations of the same God, because the universe is a force. It is a construct that comes from God. So I think we need to greatly modify our understanding of God and the universe. Some people will aggressively disagree with what I'm saying, but I think science and God are one, and also it defines many things and shows us the truth. For instance, the concept of race, that there are black people, there are white people, there are some sort of skin color derived identity or in cognitive functions determined by skin color. I believe that is one of the greatest travesties in God's universe and in modern human thinking and science, to think that skin color can somehow influence people's cognitive behavior or cognitive possibilities or potential, when in fact on this planet there is only one human race that continues to exist. The white man, the black man, the Indian, the Asian are just variations of one humanity. We are one humanity, one people. There's no difference between me and a white man and a Chinese man. The only differences come from nurture and where we grew up, the languages we learned to speak. That is it. Our intellect is based on education and exposure. It is not based on whether you are black or white or Chinese or Indian. And this is the grandest truth, that human beings have lied to themselves. They have deluded themselves to be special in that kind of way, that because I'm black, I'm different. Because I am white, I am different. I think it's selfish, and the fact that it is a violation of God's universe and God's rules, that while he created one humanity, there are people that have created theologies and mythologies and ideologies to break him apart. To me, that is a travesty of the grandest kind. For you to try to take a God-given construct like one humanity and to break it into parts based on your belief that black people are different or white people are different, when in fact the reason for the breaking apart of that humanity was based on a desire to be special, to be important as a group, whether you were Chinese or Japanese or Indonesians or South Africans or Nigerians or Americans. It was based on that desire to be special and to have dominion over fellow men that these ideologies were created. And that cannot be seen in any other light than as being wrong and against God's rules. Because you're not given dominion over other fellow men to be a master and to make them your slaves, but to work and to live with harmony with them and to experience the abundance of God's universe together collectively. So that's my theory about science and God, and also about the racial aspects of human existence, which in my mind as made up and as delusional as in believing that the tooth fairy exists, or that Santa Claus really does bring you presents every Christmas. So that's my take on God, religion, science, and race. And I know some of you guys will be very unappreciative of my thoughts on this matter, but I just want to put it out there that I think that there is a grand opportunity out there in terms of understanding of God's power, God's existence, God's structure, and how he manifests himself in the physical world, that we are letting go of because we are being blinded by our own fog. We've made this fog that we confuse ourselves with, when the reality is plain to see. It's right there in front of us, and which is what science always captures empirically, that is God's universe. We found it here. Maybe it'll be here after we're gone as well. I mean, we're a relatively young species, but the best way to take on and to comprehend the magnificence and the power and the awesomeness of God is to look at the physical and universe on this planet and beyond, and marvel at his complexity and his beauty, and realize truly God is a powerful being, and he truly is, or it truly is, the creator of all that we know today and forever.